Welcome to part 2 of my conversation with my little nephew, Hakim. Enjoy. And let's switch this to a lightly personal note.
Okay.
How is it that, like you said, a kid from Delaware, how is it? Tell me about growing up as a kid in an African household. How is that? Talk to me about that.
All right, so for me, my African household is even more like stereotypical. So my mom and my dad, they're not, they're not together, right? So my mom remarried and my dad remarried. So it's kind of like I have two different families, two different versions of Sierra Leone to learn from, right? So my mom has the Christian background, then my dad has the Muslim background. So it's also, my name is Abdul Hakim Musa, but I was raised in a Christian,
Right.
So it's actually kind of funny, and that's actually a large representation of Sierra Leone. A lot of people don't know that. We're one of the few countries in Africa, you can believe in anything, we don't care. You won't get beheaded because you believe in Allah, or you won't get beheaded because you believe in Jesus.
No, Sierra Leone is one of the most diverse and religiously tolerant countries in the world.
In the world.
Not just Africa, in the world. Mm-hmm. Muslim, Christians, non-Christian,
they eat together,
pagans,
they do whatever together.
They celebrate the same holidays together, they eat together, they party together. They don't even ask you what religion you are.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in Sierra Leone, But remind me of the question, my fault.
So how is it growing up?
Okay, yeah.
Like you mentioned, you have a very interesting household. Your dad is Muslim, your mom is Christian, and you spend most of your time growing up with your mom in a Christian household.
Yeah.
But you've always visited your father, and when
I
you
take up on his customs as well.
That's right. So how is it growing up in that kind of environment?
It's kind of stressful because you have, again, when you're in a steady household, hopefully you have two like-minded people that are raising you in a sense. They want the best for you, and they're helping you do it with one direction. With me, my family is very big, and I would say that my family is also needy when it comes to me. I feel like I have to tend to a bunch of different perspectives and tend to a bunch of different personalities in order to make everybody happy. Mm-hmm. Because as you said, I'm the Hakim, but I'm the eldest, and you know how that works in African culture. Again, I wasn't born in Africa. Right. But I literally feel like I have most of the African experience, except for the struggle. But as far as I've struggled in my own sense as far as, with the frustrations, coming up. But I've learned that with everything, before I did things in order to please everybody. Like I would try to please my mom. I would try to please my dad. I would try to please my grandmother. I would try to please you guys, my uncles. Growing up in a household like that, where you have a bunch of different people, it makes you seek attention,
right?
It makes you a person that tries to, the child, when the child is crying because they want the attention from you. When you turn a blind eye, after a little bit, they're gonna stop crying,
right?
But for me, that cry for attention is always evident. That's something I'm trying to teach myself to get away from. But you cry for the attention, you cry for the attention, you cry for the attention, but where does it get you? So growing up in that household, I've really seen myself as someone that I know that if I want something, I can go and get it. That's something that my dad has taught me. That's something that my mom has also taught me. They've taught me to be confident. As African people, we have no choice but to be confident. Because when I was growing up, it wasn't cool to be African. When I was growing up, I got made fun of for being African. I was a booty scratcher. African booty scratcher. When I would bring rice to school, my guys would tell me that it smells like poop. Wow. It looks like poop, cassava leaf, things like that.
Yeah.
Now my guys, they want some.
Right.
They want some of that sauce. I was talking to one of my friends, Isaiah, and he was telling me even though I'm not African, he is African, but even though I don't know my people and this and the third, I think TK bought him dashiki. Mm-hmm. He says when he told me this, I didn't even realize how important it was to him. He said it meant the world. When he wears his dashiki, he feels connected to his home. Mm-hmm. The people will look at him and stare at him, and he feels good. I can represent that,
Wow.
So being from an African background, I would not trade that from the world. I love that. The fact that I have that, it's a blessing, 100%. I can't even describe how important it is to me that the things that I'm achieving right now from the background that I have, I wouldn't change it. I complain to you a lot about the things that I go through, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Okay. Yeah, definitely we have those microaggressions, people calling you African booty scratcher.
Yeah.
And you were born here in the United States.
I wasn't even, that's the
right.
thing.
And imagine what I went through when I came from Sierra Leone, from West Africa.
You came in high school, right? You were like 14 or 15.
Yeah, I came when I was in middle school, and you can only imagine the kind of microaggressions, bully and racism and discrimination, things that people that are close to me, that I call friends, the things that they were saying. But anyway, let's go back to. So you mentioned something about frustrations. What are one or two frustrations growing up in an African household that you would say are the one that bothers you the most, outside of the expectations that you have to be best, you have to be good, you have to have perfect grades, and also your younger siblings also look up to you, so everything you do matters. But what are some of those frustrations for an African-American guy who was born here, for you, growing up in that household?
I would say that the most frustrating thing is when you don't get the support and the things that you actually care about, right? So I remember right now, I'll tell my mom, and my mom is getting better at this, right? But when I got the Clinton Foundation, it's actually hilarious. I told my mom, and I think she, her reaction, she didn't, it's not that she didn't care, she doesn't understand.
Right.
That's that barrier that's very frustrating.
Right.
Growing up in a different culture. When you do something huge, if I was a black American, I didn't have any affiliation to Africa, or I didn't know my affiliation to Africa.
Right.
And I did something like that with a lady that grew up in this, my mom came here also when she was young, but that still means that there's barriers that she doesn't understand to this day.
Right.
Right? So if I tell my parent, if I go to, I tell anybody else about the fact that I'm associated with the Clinton Foundation at all, they'll look at me like, oh snap, this kid is different. Yeah. This kid is, oh my goodness. There's a lot of families that have the funding that I never had that apply to that every year.
Right. And they still don't get accepted.
Off the first attempt, I got accepted, and I did it 30 minutes before it was even due.
Right.
Do you understand? Like that, for me, if I explain that to my mom or my dad, they should understand that this kid that you're dealing with is a prodigy. I should try to support him and whatever he wants to do. Even if it's not something that I agree with, I trust his judgment. Yes, there's things in life that I can teach him that he doesn't know yet. Yes, he's impulsive and he shouldn't drop everything to go for this goal. But he's proven off of this one thing right here and the multiple things that he can tell us that, wow, this kid that we're dealing with is different. He can achieve success in his own way, you know? For me, I didn't always have the highest grades. So because I didn't have the highest grades, it led me to being compared a lot. That was another frustration for me. I was compared to a lot of my friends. And it's funny because a lot of these people that I felt compared to, in a way, I felt as though I was doing better than them, you know? GPA was always the thing that I was compared as, you know? Graduating high school, I'm going to get personal, I don't care. I had a 2.9 GPA. My GPA wasn't the greatest. And I remember when you were helping me apply for college, you remember all my friends were getting their letters first. Eventually I got it.
Right.
And now we're all at this same UD, and I've had my scares. There was a point where I was even about to get, dismissed because my grades were not where they needed to be. But I buckled down. I did what I had to do. Again, I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm still in the race.
Right.
Right? And for me, it's a marathon. It's not anything where I care about anything going on around me. I'm the type of person, if I'm in a race with you, I have tunnel vision. I don't want to look to the side. I don't care how good you started off. When it comes to the end, I'm going to match you and I'm going to surpass you. That's my thought process, you know? So there's a lot of different struggles, but I think one thing that I also learned being African is it doesn't matter what the person next to you have, you know? And I wish more Africans had this thought process. It doesn't matter what the person next to you have, you know? What matters is that your drive is something that you believe and that you push towards that. And you push towards that in your own way, you know? And that's what I'm trying to do.
Like, me and you, we talk all the time, and we discuss a lot of things, personal, just life or fun things or whatnot. And one of the things when it comes to an African here in the United States, the things that for them, the way they see it is that they have sacrificed so much to get here, right? They dropped everything that they had or didn't have from back home, and they get here. And so even back home in Sierra Leone, growing up, your parents always wanted you to become a doctor. They wanted you to become a lawyer. They wanted you to become an engineer. They wanted you to become, and this is, it's not bad intent. It's not bad intention, right? They know that these people, if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, you're successful. And so they want the best for their kids. They want their kids to become these people. They want you to become successful. And so it's the same mentality. They drop everything back home. They come here to the United States. And so they are working extremely hard to provide for you. The way they see it is that they are not asking too much for you.
Just go get good grades.
That's right. They want you to just get good grades, and a B or B plus is not acceptable. They want you to be
exceptional. I have to
that's
be the
right.
best at whatever I touch.
That's right. You get A's because they're not asking you to work. They're not asking you to do anything else. They just want you to go to school and get grades. So the things that me and you talk about all the time is perspective. You always have to see it from their own view. Why are they thinking the way they think? And what is their intention? What is their intention? What are they trying to tell me? And so that is what thing that me and you always talk about, the perspective, why they think this way, because they are coming from a good intention.
Yeah, it's coming from a good place.
That's right. But they don't know how to sometimes they don't know how to communicate it well for you to understand.
Right.
And sometimes they don't know how to paint that picture for you to understand. Or sometimes they don't explain
at all.
They don't explain the expectations. They're saying that I want this from you, but why? And so a lot of the things for you kids here in the United States, you always want to know the why. Why are you telling me to wash the dish?
That's facts.
Why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me this? If you don't have that reason, that is a source of frustration as well.
And I can tell and I don't want to be the person that's always complaining. I can tell, I'm not an easy person to raise. For my mom and for my dad, especially my mom, I'm very, you know me, I'm very all over the place. Like I'm a person where priorities sometimes aren't always the best. Like, and these are all things I can admit because I've had time to observe myself, you know. But at the same time, I would say that it's easy to grow frustrated and decide, you know what, let me just leave this person alone, you know? But I feel like what makes you a solid, and this isn't a personal shot or anything like that, but what makes you a solid individual is when you're able to weather the storm, you bite down on the mouthpiece and you continue on with the fight, and you determine, you know what, my son is different. He's different, but this is a different that can benefit all of us. Tijani, if I had the support that I want with us pursuing the things that I want to pursue, I'm telling you in the next 2-3 years, I would change all of our lives if I had that support. And my parents would benefit greatly from that support. But I think that barrier of not having someone around them do something like that, it's not safe. And I think Africans like to play it safe. What do you think about that?
I think you're right. It's a combination of not having somebody around there that has done something like that, and it's also a combination of being scared of the unknown, the uncertainty. What is the likelihood that the route that you're taking, you would actually become successful at it? For them, if they don't see themselves doing it, being successful, then it is very hard for them to accept the concept that you, their child, is going to partake in that and become successful, because again, it's not coming from a bad intention. They just don't think that you're going to be successful, and you failing in their eyes is also showing that they've worked so hard for you to come and do something foolish, for you to come and do something that is not going to be successful. And like I said, they want you to become a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer, and you want to become creative. First of all, they're going to ask you, what is creative? What do you mean by creative? What do you mean you're gonna be blah blah blah? So
but do you think when they're asking me to understand, or they're asking me to further establish that they don't want to support that? You think about it, like
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That is a good question. I don't
think they ask for understanding.
I don't think because when you ask, you have to sit there and listen, right?
Yeah, and they don't.
That's right. So sometimes they ask because they want to discourage you from doing it, right? And so, but sometimes also depending on the household, if they have enough acclimation into the culture, they understand things, how the culture is, and how your kids don't always do what you want them to do, and that they have their own vision, they have their own likes and dislikes. And so your goal is for you to meet in the middle and try to support them in whatever they engage in. And sometimes I've seen some African parents that don't want to indulge in any of those conversations. They want you to do A and you're doing A. If you don't do A, then you're not going to see eye to eye.
That's very dangerous.
It is very, very dangerous in some capacity. But also, what I also have seen from young people, people like yourself, who were born here in the United States, you don't want to see things in a perspective way. And I even got to the point where I'm calling some of you kids as spoiled and entitled.
Okay.
Some of you kids are very spoiled and entitled. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you think that everything in this household should
revolve
around you, and people should just drop everything and support you because you have these crazy ideas. And like what we said in the beginning, you start A, and when you get bored, you drop it. You go to B, you get bored, you drop it. What is to say?
The consistency.
Exactly. What is to say that when you start C, you're actually gonna stick with it?
That's a fact. That's a perspective that I've never looked into, or I've looked into it, but this is good. This is a good point.
Oh, yeah.
It may not be comfortable because I can now see, my mom has even said something like this. If I can't trust you to go to school, not have a job, and get the grades that you should be getting, you're not even studying anything crazy difficult. If I can't trust you to do that, how can my mom trust me to go move out to Atlanta, be by myself, chase a dream? That's a fact.
Yeah. So it brings everything back together, right?
It brings it to perspective.
That's right. In the beginning, you mentioned all these things that you engage in, and you see some success. I remember when you pull out the song, your mom called me. She literally called me over the phone.
That was surprising.
That's right. She called me over the phone. She told me to go on YouTube right now and like the song, and then she wants me to share the song.
I'm so surprised about that.
To everybody in my network.
So maybe she would support, honestly.
Because she understood it. She knows that you have skill. Because she knows that you actually, if you continue on that path, you might be successful. That's why she calls people.
That's a fact.
And share the information. But when you don't communicate with them because you think that they won't understand you, then they're not going to understand you. And then nothing gets understood.
Damn. So in a way, I'm playing into my own demise.
That's right. That's right. It's both. Everybody has to have an effort. The parents have to have an understanding that you kids think differently. They shouldn't have the same expectations of me and put it on you because I think differently. I'm all about the culture, and you yourself. I know you a little bit. You're very logical. You don't think the way I think. We share some commonalities because we're the same family. But you're very logical, man. If somebody says, Hakim, I'm going to do this for you, and you expect them to do it for you.
Right.
But it also comes from the parents. They have to understand that their kids are different. And then the kids also have to understand that the parents are different. Even though they've been in the United States for 19, 20, 25 years.
It's still not what they know.
That's right. They don't know what they don't know. The things are very different. The culture is very different here. And some of them, one of the reasons why your parents are the way they are is it's very sad and unfortunate because when they came to this United States, all they ever know is work. They work 2-3 jobs. And they don't have enough time to understand the culture. Like me, I came
so
to...
it's nonsense to them.
That's right. For me, I came to the United States when I was younger. So I had the time to learn some aspect of the culture, hanging out with my friends, understanding this, understanding that. And so if I were to have a kid now, I will understand better compared to my brother, your dad, the way he sees things. Your dad, if you are playing soccer in high school, he's thinking you're wasting time.
Right.
You're foolish.
But the funny thing is, he asked me during this break, we were in the car, and he was like, Hakim, so why aren't you playing soccer in school? Because now my weight has gone up. You saw how much weight I've increased?
Because now he has health concern. Before he didn't see that.
Exactly.
You see it?
So now, but I came to Virginia, I lost 20 pounds, I was doing all that. But then he thought about it. He was like, Hakim, didn't you have scholarships for soccer? I said, yes. I said, why didn't you do it? You told me not to go to those schools.
You see? Because he didn't understand it at first.
And it was so funny because when we spoke, it was like, it was so funny. Like, I remember the look on his face. It was like,
I said that?
Yeah, it was, it's like he didn't admit to saying that, but it was like, wow.
Yeah.
That, you see?
Yeah.
And that's something where that could have ultimately led to a bad demise.
Yeah.
Because it's, okay, Hakim, you're going to go to school, you're going to learn science, you're going to do this. That's not what I do.
Yeah.
That's not who I am.
It's not something you're interested in.
I don't care about that.
Right.
So it's actually funny that you brought that up. Like, I was going to play soccer. I had schools that were going to give offers, But, hey, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah,
I didn't have that support.
It's very interesting. So having said that, for me, since like I said, I came here when I was younger, so I played soccer. At the top of the podcast, we're talking about the things that we share commonalities in. So now, if I were to have a kid and they tell me about soccer, they tell me about AAU basketball, they tell me about. I'll take them.
Because our genetics are crazy.
That's right. I'll take them to those things. I'll support them because I've done it. And so
I wasn't able to do it. If I started travel soccer with the rest of these kids that were fortunate enough to play from 4, Tijan, I started soccer my freshman year of high school. Seriously.
Yeah.
I played 1 year of freshman and JV. The rest of my high school experience, I was the captain and I started.
Right. Yeah. You don't need 15 years to get to that level. You just need support. But they can't support you because they don't understand it.
They didn't understand it.
And you yourself don't take the time
to explain,
to see it from their point of view and explain to them, this is what I'm trying to do and this is the benefits of it. But sometimes you actually do explain it to them, but they're not gonna see it. It don't matter what.
Late sometimes.
That's right. It don't matter what the explanation is. They're just not gonna see it.
Especially when I'm lacking in other areas.
That's right.
So if I'm giving all my focus, I can actually see that. With school, I remember during soccer season, my grades were always the lowest. Right. But in my head, I was putting on for the Musa, and you remember the first year I played at that Smyrna High School, and I moved to Smyrna. Yeah. I was on a news article in my 4th game.
Yeah.
My 4th game, I broke a record. I got 34 saves in one game. Yeah. Abdul Musa. I saw that went to my head. I was like, bro, what? This school, I don't need the grades.
But you forgot that you are a student.
I was a student athlete. And now it's kicking my butt now because instead of me focusing on being that student athlete and learning how to be the student,
you were doing just athletes. And so for them, the way they see it is, Hakim
Noditiki, let me not speak Creole.
That's right. You're not taking the school seriously. What is to say that when you engage in that Musa Health Foundation, your grades are going to be popping? You have not shown anything to indicate that you would actually be versatile, that you would work in the with the Musa Health Foundation and bring it up,
decent GPA,
and at the same time do a decent GPA. So for them, they already have a source of comparison because they saw that in high school when you were doing soccer. But they're not going to communicate that with you.
They can be like, I saw this before.
That's right.
Hakim, I saw this before.
So their judgment comes from something, but they don't know how to communicate that to you for you to understand it and see it.
Then for me, it's like, damn, these people aren't supporting me. What's wrong with these people, this, and the third? But I've already shown that if you support me in this endeavor, there's risks that I could flunk one side.
That's right.
When I made the connections.
That's right. That's right. So
okay, I understand.
So this is what some of their thinking is. And maybe I'm over-exaggerating this. Maybe that's not the case. But if I was a parent, that's how I would look at it. And I'm definitely looking at it from an uncle point of view because I tell you all the time, when you bring up something new, I said, Hakim, you just told me about
something else.
Yeah, last week. So why are you telling me about this? And what do I always tell you? You have not shown me that you can work to your full capacity. That's what I always tell you. And I still stick to that because you still have not demonstrated that you could work to your full abilities. You have not shown anything that you've done from high school that you can work to a full ability. You have not shown that. And so because of that, I still don't have a source of reference that if you engage in this one thing, you can be successful at it. So any comment on that?
I mean, you say this all the time, but I also say it takes time. Nobody. Okay, so I've learned a little bit about Malcolm X, right? The guy wasn't always the person that he was, right? He wasn't always the person that we all look up to,
Right.
He started off. The boy was a convict. He was in jail. Most of the literature that he read was in prison, you know?
Right.
So for me personally, I know that there's a lot of things that I have to work on. I know that I need to teach myself to be more consistent. I know that I need to teach myself to create on a specific level. Because once I have something to show my people, that's what they can leech onto and say, oh, wow, you know, Hakim does have talent here. Let me not hold him back. You're right. My mom did support me heavily when it came to the song "Wake Up." Right? She was the main one sending it, posting it on WhatsApp, all that stuff. So maybe it is a lack of me not showing you guys. Okay, guys, like you guys can trust me in this. But I'm hoping that this year I've meditated a lot on this. I've thought a lot on this. I want to use this year to learn a lot about myself and admit a lot of my faults. And not only admit, because I have this problem too where I'll admit a bunch of faults and then I'll look at my faults and I'll just be like, hey, faults, stay right there.
Right.
I don't push them away, you know?
Right.
I'll look at all my issues and my problems and my bad characteristics and I'll just be like, hey, you, just stay there, you know?
Right.
I'm not going to put the work in to dismiss you.
Okay, so I guess the next question for you is, well, you don't have to answer this, but something that you should be thinking about after taking this time to identifying and figuring out who you are as a person, seeing those faults, not necessarily faults. I call them an opportunity to learn, a place to improve on, opportunities. That's what we call them, opportunities. You can always improve as a person. You can always get better. You can also always learn something new. But once you identify those opportunities, the question that you should be thinking about, what can I do to improve that weakness, to take that weakness from that weakness category and move it up to become a strength. That's what you should be thinking about. And a big problem that most of us have as Musa family is that we are very easygoing, we're well respected, people love us. And so because of that, we tend to distract ourselves. And so for you, you're a young guy. You get too much into distraction about your friends this, your friends that, and you forget about where are you. You are at University of Delaware to go to school. It's not to go hang out. You're not paying thousands of dollars to hang out.
I always forget that.
To go to parties. That's not what you're there. But you can have a good balance. But you have to know, why am I here? I'm here to go to school. Student. That's the first thing. Your priority is always to be a student. And so that is something you should always focus on. Once you identify those opportunities, what are you going to do to make them become your strength? What are you going to do to improve on them? That is something you should think about as you keep learning about yourself.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was solid. That was very solid.
All right. So let's wrap it up. Wrap this up. At this point, this is when I ask my guest to read a letter that they write to their younger self. And so because I didn't ask you to write that letter to your younger self, I'm going to ask you this question. If you know that you can do one thing and you're not going to fail, what would that thing be? What would you do if you know that you won't fail? What would that thing be?
Inspire millions. For me, that's a broad answer, but in my head, I know that when I'm serious about something and I give it energy, it happens. So that thing that I would want to do, if I knew I could do it and never fail, it would be to inspire millions for the good, for the positive. I want to do what you're doing right now. Like, you have a set group of people that listen to this podcast. Hopefully it will continue to grow. Obviously, your numbers are going to spike this week, by the way. You have King Duel on the podcast. But for me personally, I would love to inspire millions, if not millions, billions. I want to inspire the world to be the best version of themselves and to reach for any goal that they have set out for themselves. Anybody can do anything. And that's something that a lot of people say, but it's not a joke to me. It's something that I truly believe, and I'm going to prove it to myself.
Okay, that is very good, man. As your uncle, man, I always look forward to seeing you surpass me, surpass your dad, surpass your mom, and become at your fullest potential. I still have not seen that, but that comes with age. You're still a 19-year-old, so I cannot put you all the way up there compared to other people. So you still have a huge potential in front of you, and you still have the world, you still have time. So just keep pushing. Just make sure that, you stay focused, you stay locked in. Understand, why do you get into things? And once you identify those whys, then work to make them become successful. And then also try to identify what is the reason why you get bored. Why do you get bored of something that you were so excited about? And maybe that once you identify the reason why you get bored, you would actually pick one thing and focus on it and become great success. And it's all hard work. I already know you can work hard, and your work ethic compared to anybody in your age is very competitive. I have no question about that. But try to identify, why do you get bored so easily? And once you figure those things out, make them become strengths and become better at them. Again, I want to take this time to thank you. I think we had great conversation within this podcast, and I enjoy talking with you. Me and you will talk all the time, but I enjoy actually bringing you to my fans to get to know you as my little nephew. Thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your wisdom with us.
You forgot to mention that I was single.
Yeah, like I said, this podcast is not about matching you with anybody. So
The Verdad Duele.
That's right. The truth hurts. That's why I'm telling you the truth. This is not a matching podcast. Again, if anybody wants to follow my nephew, he has different things out there. You can follow him on his platforms, King Duel _, that is IG. You can find him at the YouTube King Duel Reacts with an S. And you can also look up his health foundation on Musa Health Foundation on IG. And you can also look up his podcast at any platforms that you listen to your podcast. It's called the James Duel Podcast. It's one word. So follow him. If you have any questions about anything that we've talked about, or if you have any questions for him, you can reach out to him, or you can reach out to me. I'm his uncle. So ask me first before you holler at my
That's my future
nephew.
manager. When I finally blow up, because again, this is all going to be, mark this on the wall. When this blows up, just know all of my contact information. Just follow Tijani. He got all that. That's my manager.
That's right. And this is the Verdad Duele Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Booyaka, booyaka, booyaka.
There you have it, everybody. If you're listening to this still, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening through and through. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button so you can get this automatically downloaded the next time new episodes come out. We have a lot more experiences and stories to tell, and I cannot wait to share them with you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Reviews are always appreciated. Thank you. I appreciate you, and let me know what you think on our Instagram at La Verdad Duele Pod. Our team is here to serve you. We look forward to hearing about your successes, and maybe one day we may invite you to the studio to share. We wish you luck. The La Verdad Duele family has your back. Thank you so much.